Coming up, new sites to test the hundreds who may have COVID-19 are now opening up around the state.
Plus, counting those experiencing homelessness, how today's survey could help provide solutions.
And later, the Phoenix Mercury get a new coach to bring them back to the WNBA Finals.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Mitchell Zimmerman.
And I'm Raina Preciado. Thank you for joining us. The number of COVID-19 cases here in Arizona appear to finally be decreasing today. The State Department of Health reported nearly 14,000 cases. In the past few days, the state has reported more than 20,000 cases, setting and breaking several records last week. According to the laboratory TGen, Omicron is the dominant variant here in Arizona. As of the second week in January, 98% of COVID-19 cases were the Omicron variant.
The volume of cases has put a strain on testing sites across the state. In an effort to tackle this issue, FEMA partnered with Pima County to open a large-scale testing site in Tucson. Cars upon cars wait in lines for COVID tests here at Pima Community College West Campus in Tucson.
It looks like right now they can still make same-day appointments for testing if they need it.
Anthony Gamino with the Pima County Health Department says they had some struggles in getting at-home tests to residents.
There just wasn't enough inventory, so after the first of the year, we had to stop the distribution at the library sites.
This has been a problem for health departments across Arizona. This new testing site in Tucson opened after FEMA agreed to fund the new drive-through center.
We were pretty early in our ask and pretty persistent, so you throw all those things together, and that's why FEMA was able to start this 3-week testing pod here in Pima County.
The community college site is the only one funded by FEMA so far this year. It features self-swab tests at the moment, and appointments are preferred.
Print their reservation confirmation because the vendors need that actual printed piece to hustle along and keep the line moving.
According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, there are over 600 locations statewide to get tested for COVID-19. There is now a new site at State Farm Stadium, and Pima County opens another testing option today.
Opening up a site Tuesday, January 25th, at the Keno Event Center, which is in cooperation with one of our testing vendors.
Officials hope with this new testing site, they will be able to catch cases earlier and stop the spread of COVID-19. COVID-19 testing sites are available all across Arizona. To find one near you, visit azdhs.gov or your county health department's website.
Pfizer announced the start of a new study today. The drug company wants to test a new vaccine specifically to fight the Omicron variant. Pfizer says the doses may be used as primary vaccinations or booster shots. The study is expected to enroll over 1,000 adults between the ages of 18 and 55 in the study. The shots will be Omicron-based and examined for safety, as well as how they protect against the coronavirus like Pfizer's original shots. Pfizer expects to produce 4 billion COVID shots in 2022 and says that number won't change if Omicron-based dose becomes available. Federal health officials are now advising against the use of antibody drugs. The FDA is revoking emergency authorization of antibody drugs from the pharmaceutical companies Regeneron and Eli Lilly. Health regulators say those antibody drugs don't fight against the Omicron variant. Antibody drugs from Regeneron and Eli Lilly have been used to fight COVID-19 up until now. If those drugs can fight against other variants in the future, the FDA may reconsider authorizing them. The FDA announced with its decision that the Omicron variant now accounts for nearly 99% of the U.S. coronavirus infections, which is why antibody drugs are no longer very effective.
Due to teacher shortages and illness, the State Department of Education is making changes to rules regarding substitute teachers. Now, emergency substitutes can teach in classrooms for 2 years rather than just 1 school year. It also lifts the limits on how many days a substitute can teach in one district. This can help schools, especially in rural areas with staffing shortages. The new rules were adopted yesterday. 7 election-related bills are making their way through the Arizona State Legislature. Cronkite News reporter Nick Shesky was at the Capitol where all 7 bills made it through the Senate Committee on Government.
After questions about how the 2020 election was run, Arizona Republican lawmakers are trying to pass a series of bills to shore up security in the state's elections. Let's take a closer look at 3 of those bills that passed yesterday's meeting with a 4-3 vote along party lines. Ballot images of every single ballot cast available online as public record.
We vote in private, but we count in public, and your ballot is a public record, and it should be made that transparent.
The idea with this bill is that anyone will be able to go online and see pictures of all the ballots that were cast in an election. Opponents express concern about the cost of an online database. They also worry about voters accidentally revealing personal information on their ballots. Senate Bill 1120 seeks to make sure every ballot in elections is made the exact same way by one single manufacturer. Members of the public at the hearing complained about ink running through the thin paper of their ballots during the 2020 election. This bill seeks to ensure that every ballot is sturdy, trackable, and unduplicatable.
We need to come up with a standardized ballot. If you run this thing under a black light, if you have suspicion to this ballot, you could actually throw it under a black light to make sure that it's not counterfeit.
Opponents of this bill question the cost of creating this type of ballot. Senate Bill 1133 ensures that school and city elections cannot be all mail-in voting. They must have an in-person option. Proponents of this bill argue that not having an in-person option suppresses Arizona voters, while opponents say that changing how these elections are run will take a toll on voter turnout.
If we were to take away this option from a district like mine and the districts that surround my and actually most school districts conduct all-mail elections, that would devastate the turnout for these elections, and that's really a shame, because when we're talking about expanding access, that access is provided when you give them the option to vote by mail.
The bills still need to be approved by other Senate committees before they make their way to the Senate floor and eventually over to the House. Other election bills passed out of committee yesterday dealt with topics like the margin for automatic recounts and tighter security for election equipment. In the newsroom, Nick Shesky, Cronkite News.
Many volunteers were up before dawn, all in an effort to help those experiencing homelessness. Coming up after the break, the outreach that could help the state get federal funding for solutions to this issue.
Also ahead, a huge telescope is now in position to look deeper into space. We'll tell you all about the Arizona connection to the project. Okay.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
I was so excited when I learned that I was going to be the next moderator of Washington Week. I was incredibly lucky to be mentored by Gwen Eiffel, and what that gave to me was this confidence that I could be my full self and that I was deserving of whatever spaces I was in.
Welcome to Washington Week.
I also feel this great joy in taking the helm of Washington Week, knowing that I can mold it and make it my own, but also make sure that it is still within the legacy and the tradition that made it so great for all of these years.
The point-in-time count for homelessness took place this morning in Maricopa County after a year's hiatus. Cronkite News reporter Raven Payne joined the count coordinators as they surveyed people experiencing homelessness and tells us why this event is important to those communities.
The counts took place across the valley from the city of Chandler to the city of Phoenix.
The last time there was a point-in-time count in 2020, they counted just over 7,400 people experiencing homelessness in Maricopa County. Just based on what we saw this morning, our count volunteer says there were less people out than previous years. Volunteers gathered early this morning to survey and count the number of people experiencing homelessness. These surveys included simple questions in order to better understand the resources people experiencing unsheltered homelessness need. Although the COVID-19 pandemic put a stop to the count, Community Bridges Senior Director of Housing and Community Integration, Elizabeth DaCosta, says there was a silver lining to the forced break.
As far as it relates to homelessness services, COVID-19 shed a spotlight on the public health crisis that is homelessness, right? That people, while we were all kind of staying at home, there were people out there that had no place to go. They were surviving on the streets and had nowhere to go. So because of that, we got a lot more resources coming into our community.
According to DaCosta, the count helps with the allocation of funds to communities, emergency shelters, and other resources. The preliminary numbers from the 2022 point-in-time count should be out by the end of February. In the newsroom, Raven Payne, Cronkite News.
Trees can pose a danger to power lines. SRP says it's working with the city of Peoria to remove 166 trees that are growing too close to lines. To offset the removal of those trees, SRP says it will plant 500 more. It's part of the Right Tree, Right Place program. The trees will be placed in parks, neighborhoods, and schools away from power lines. They will be planted together to create more shade in these areas. A telescope that left the Earth on December 25th has reached its final destination. The James Webb Space Telescope is now positioned 1 million miles away from our planet. As you can see here, the telescope left from French Guiana 1 month ago. Yesterday, the Space Observatory entered a new burn called L2 after experiencing its final burn. The telescope is now positioned beyond the moon. Its sun shield is the size of a tennis court. It also features a gold mirror that will help it study the atmosphere of exoplanets. The telescope's infrared eyes were designed by astronomers at U Arizona.
We're expecting some cooler temperatures these next few days. Faith Abercrombie is in the Weather Center with more on what to expect this week.
Yes, let's take a look at that forecast. In the beginning of the day, it's a little bit chilly. It's in those 50-degree temperatures, but by noon, those clouds are starting to dip off. It's clear and beautiful, sunny skies right now, hanging around those 70-degree temperatures. And as we go later into our evening tonight, we're going to stick with that trend with clear skies, and around 9 p.m. it'll drop down into the 50s, nothing too chilly, with a little bit of a breeze, but nothing too windy. Now going into our high temperatures for tomorrow, the lowest in the state is about 42 degrees up in the Grand Canyon, Flagstaff area. Pretty chilly up there, but we are lucky down here in Phoenix. Our high temperature for tomorrow is 70 degrees, with similar cities falling around those higher degree temperatures. Now going into our 8-day forecast, tomorrow it'll be 70, a little bit of clouds, but those clouds are out to play on Saturday. Our high will be 75 degrees, but as we go into the beginning of next week, we'll drop down into those 60-degree temperatures. Well, that is your 8-day forecast from the Cronkite Weather Center. I'm Faith Abercrombie.
I'm Lindsay Zinti. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. The Phoenix Mercury have named their new head coach, and she has close ties to the Valley. A full introduction next.
Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
I was so excited when I learned that I was going to be the next moderator of Washington Week. I was incredibly lucky to be mentored by Gwen Ifill, and what that gave to me was this confidence that I could be my full self and that I was deserving of whatever spaces I was in.
Welcome to Washington Week.
I also feel this great joy in taking the helm of Washington Week, knowing that I can mold it and make it my own, but also make sure that it is still within the legacy and the tradition that made it so great for all of these years.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Lindsay Zinti, and this is your Cronkite Sports Report. The Phoenix Mercury introduced their 10th head coach in franchise history yesterday. The team parted ways with coach Sandy Brondello after falling short in their championship run last October. Cronkite News reporter Connor McGill was at Footprint Center with the details on the Mercury's new hire.
The Phoenix Mercury have named Vanessa NYGAARD as the next head coach of the franchise. This is NYGAARD's first head coaching job in the WNBA. She's a Scottsdale native, and she's one of 6 currently in the league who have played. NYGAARD hopes to bring her experience to the bench.
I've always wanted to be a coach in the WNBA, and the opportunity to coach one of the most storied franchises and to coach the greatest player of all time, as well as other outstanding players, is something that I couldn't even dream of.
NYGAARD's basketball portfolio is quite deep. As a player at Stanford, her team only lost 14 games and made 3 Final Four appearances. She played 6 seasons in the WNBA and started her coaching career as an assistant at Long Beach State. Now, 19 years later, she goes from being an assistant coach for the Las Vegas Aces to being the head coach for the Mercury.
I've been a bench player, I've been a starter, I've sat at the end of the bench and been paid to watch basketball, and so I know all the struggles that the players go through, also that management of your life with the challenges of being a professional athlete. And so to be able to identify with them and also to be able to push them because you know what it's really like, I think that that's an important skill that I bring as a former player.
NYGAARD's 9-year-old son told his mom that she is the shepherd because she gets to guide the goat. NYGAARD responded to him, "The goat takes care of herself." By goat, she's talking about Diana Taurasi, who has taken the offseason to contemplate whether or not she'll be returning. At the Footprint Center, Connor McGill, Cronkite News.
NYGAARD's first task is to get her roster set. The team has limited cap space to try and make qualifying offers to several free agents by Friday's deadline. Staying on the hardwood, Suns general manager James Jones signs a multi-year contract extension. Meanwhile, they beat the Utah Jazz last night. The win keeps the Suns atop the Western Conference standings and serves as a quality win over another potential Western Conference playoff team. Devin Booker led the way with 33 points, 17 of which came in the first quarter.
Having fun out there, having fun through it all, having fun with this team, everybody that's playing, just high energy. It was a great crowd in there tonight, and, I just had a lot of fun.
It's been an eventful week for Arizona State men's basketball. The Sun Devils were shorthanded when they faced 15th-ranked USC last night, losing to the Trojans by 22. The team was without head coach Bobby Hurley and guard Jay Heath following a post-game confrontation with an official on Sunday. Hurley was emotional after Sunday's incident.
So I'm just proud of my guys' effort. My guys fought their asses off, played a winning game. I've never been a part of a game like this in my life as a player or a coach. So, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
The conference said the actions of Hurley, Heath, and forward Jalen Graham were in violation of the conference's standards of conduct, and that they failed to meet sportsmanship standards set by the Pac-12. Hurley and Heath will return for the Devils' next game on Saturday against the University of Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, they take on UCLA tonight in a high-powered matchup. The Wildcats sit at number 3, while the Bruins check in at number 7 in the latest AP Top 25 basketball rankings. The game will put the winner atop the Pac-12 standings and should be a high-scoring affair as the Wildcats rank 3rd in the country, scoring just under 90 points per game. The Major League Baseball Players Union filed a new proposal in their ongoing labor talks with MLB owners on Monday. The proposal is another step in what has been a slow process to end the MLB lockout. The players dropped their initial demand to tie free agency to age rather than service time. It's a small concession in a standoff with owners that has dragged on for 8 weeks. The two sides are expected to meet again today. Spring training is scheduled to start in just 3 weeks. Finally, the Cardinals' loss to the Rams in the wild card round ended their season, but more losses may be on the way. Defensive coordinator Vance Joseph was interviewed by the Miami Dolphins for their head coaching position on Friday. He is expected to have more interviews with other teams in the coming days. Joseph led the Cardinals' defense to a top 10 season in points allowed this year, a massive improvement over their 28th place ranking in that category 3 years ago. Joseph was formerly the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins in 2016. That's all for your Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Raina and Mitchell.
Up next, we're taking you to Los Angeles for an exclusive look at an up-and-coming music trend. Corridos tumbados is a new genre that's sparking a movement in ages young and old. Stick with us to learn how it's affecting the city of Los Angeles.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
This month in Passport, your on-demand library of the best of PBS.
Everyone has secrets. Are you protecting someone?
I have no choice.
You do have a choice. You're looking at him.
That's amazing. We could be standing on top of a T-Rex right now.
Women demanded new space and pushed the boundaries of what being a lady means.
These and other shows are available with Passport. Become a member of this PBS station, sign in, and start streaming today.
I was so excited when I learned that I was going to be the next moderator of Washington Week. I was incredibly lucky to be mentored by Gwen Ifill, and what that gave to me was this confidence that I could be my full self and that I was deserving of whatever spaces I was in.
Welcome to Washington Week.
I also feel this great joy in taking the helm of Washington Week, knowing that I can mold it and make it my own, but also make sure that it is still within the legacy and the tradition that made it so great for all of these years.
It's a modern music style, an urban version of a Mexican corrido, but with a difference. Kimberly Severio Bautista explains what makes this music different and why it is so popular, especially in Los Angeles.
Los corridos tumbados originó aquí en Los Ángeles. Yo creo que Arsenal Efectivo nos abrió la puerta con sus corridos. Arsenal Efectivo came up with track corridos and it was amazing. And then that's when I met Asociados and I was like, hey dude, let's do some gangster. Let's not sing about people in Mexico, no drug lords. Let's stop singing about them. Let's sing about people here. And they're like, hell yeah, you know, and they're from Compton, I'm from Compton, and we had that gangster mentality, and we started just writing music about gangsters. They're not millionaires like Chapo, but we got stories to tell, you know what I'm saying?
Son los temas que viven los jóvenes, especialmente los hombres, los jóvenes en las ciudades. Este tipo de corrido nació en la ciudad, no en la provincia, no en el campo, ¿verdad? No Es un corrido urbano, temas que es lo que conoce.
Y pues nosotros le cantamos a gente de barrio, que son del barrio, que han matado, que están en la cárcel, que por las calles están valiendo chetos, se puede decir, pero tratando de ayudar a la gente, como diciendo, ok, eso es lo que me pasó, pero yo te estoy contando mi historia para que ustedes sepan cómo está el pedo y no lo hagan y no busquen otro camino porque no es bueno ese camino, pues, ¿no? Por eso yo pienso que ver corridos y corridos tumbados es diferente, la neta.
That's it for Cronkite News Tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.